Today I'm bringing you a banging video for today. I want to talk about Ripple and why I think it's going to be the biggest cryptocurrency we've ever seen in the near future. I'm talking about in a few years time because I've thought about it and I've seen the Reddit post that sparked my interest, and I have a belief that Ripple is setting up for something massive coming very, very soon. A lot of people are sort of criticizing it about why banks are not adopting XRP and using Xcurrent instead, but I've got a few reasons I think why this is happening and why they're setting up for something massive and why they've got it all planned out. So as you can see, Ripple currently sits around 77 cents, which is a bargain considering its all-time high was about $3.50, $4. Up to you whether you want to buy it, but personally I'm invested in Ripple. I do think it's a great investment in terms of long-term. I do think short-term is probably not the best investment out of all these cryptocurrencies, but long-term I'll go through why I think it has potential to be an amazing cryptocurrency and probably the biggest one around as banks start to set up its framework and things like that going into the future. And basically I just want to say this prediction is relevant if everything in Ripple's future goes according to plan and we experience the same sort of great feedback we've had in the last year from banks, financial institutions, businesses and things like that. But I'll basically go through why I think this is the case. So if you look at the notes I've made, it's kind of based on the Reddit post I saw and the videos I've made in the past of explaining why we shouldn't be too concerned about XRP not being adopted as of yet. So the reasons this has kind of come to my mind is because a lot of people have been talking about why financial institutions aren't adopting XRP and are using Xcurrent instead, which still uses fiat currencies, and not XRapid, which liquefies XRP at the moment. And I've got a few reasons for that. The first one is that the framework needs to be set down before anyone will properly start using XRP. Once it has been set, Ripple can build a reputation and trust from businesses, which will then adopt the next logical step after Xcurrent, which is the framework, which is XRP and the XRapid product. So basically, what I mean by this is businesses aren't going to jump straight into using a technology I don't really understand and don't really want to use as of yet in terms of using cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency isn't fully there yet. I don't know if you guys agree, but it still has to take some time to sort of grow into the place it wants to be at the moment, and doesn't have enough sustainable like customer support from exchanges and things like that for it to be, you know, widely adopted and adopted by the masses as of yet. But it will be there in a few years. So banks are hesitant obviously to use XRP, but they want to use Ripple and the technology it currently uses to cut down on the cost and also increase their efficiency in terms of cost and time efficiency. Once all the businesses and banks start adopting Xcurrent like we are seeing at the moment and not XRP and XRapid straight away, we will start to see an initial foundation of a fully integrated Ripple system in place. It's like building a house. They're going to start with the base up. They're going to start incorporating Xcurrent into every single financial institution they possibly can. And then once they do this, all the banks, financial institutions and things like that will have Xcurrent already in place, and there'll be testimonials, there'll be examples of that, the fact that it works, and people want to get ahead of the trend. Businesses want to get ahead of the trend, and boom, what they're going to do, they're going to chuck in XRapid and XRP because it's already set up and ready to go. They've already built the trust, they've already built the reputation, nothing can go wrong from there, and they have no problems with incorporating and going and taking another risky step with a company that they already had taken the chance on in the last few years. More and more businesses will be testimonials, as I said, with the efficiency of Ripple technology, and they will seek to continue the improvements by using the XRapid and XRP as we move into a more crypto world. XRP will then have the advantage over other cryptocurrencies like the ones on the top 100, as the Ripple framework will have already been built into their systems, and the trust between the companies will already have been created. And this is very important. I think people forget that trust is one of the main factors in business adoption and sort of investment. And once they build that trust, they've started going through all the trials and things like that, like's happening at the moment. Xcurrent will be incorporated into the banks, the systems, and then boom, they'll start trialing XRapid and XRP like they did with Xcurrent at the moment. It will hopefully go well again, and then we'll incorporate XRP into everything we know, and XRP could be everywhere, and it could be taking over, especially as the banking industry is probably the largest industry in the world. And once we get XRP in there, there's no saying where it could go in terms of the it could go into consumption, e-commerce, anything after that. And it's just a stepping stone into against that, as banks and things like that are its primary sort of solution. So once this happens, it will be incorporated into banks and other businesses like a domino effect, similar to the one occurring at the moment with Xcurrent. As I said before, banks are starting to trial with it. Once they finish trialing with it and they've already said it's going well, they're going to start to adopt it, and then other businesses and firms will adopt the technology to stay ahead of the trend, and then others will follow as the early adopters become testimonials and examples of the positive benefits that Ripple technology does give to the businesses in terms of getting an upper hand over other sort of payment transfer systems, cross-border transfers, things like that. The process could take 5 to 10 years, and that's what I'm saying is a long-term outlook and a long-term sort of speculation on the future of Ripple and why it could become huge. Yes, you could probably say with any of these cryptocurrencies, in 5 to 10 years they could be absolutely massive as well. I'm not doubting that at all. I think cryptocurrency has a massive room to grow, and it will be something massive as a whole in the future, and you can't really pinpoint which one exactly will be the largest, but I'm just saying by the determining factors at the moment with Ripple and the way it's going at the moment, and that is setting up all the framework, is setting up all the building blocks that necessarily aren't going to change Ripple's price or XRP's price at the moment, but once they start incorporating it and start actually using it and start adopting it, which they aren't doing at the moment, then it's going to be a complete game changer. XRP's price is going to skyrocket, and it's going to be the new hot topic and the one that everybody wants. So if we come over to the Reddit post that kind of sparked my interest, they've got some analogies here about why this is sort of the case and what we've seen in the past that could kind of explain the sort of thing we're seeing at the moment in terms of they want to adopt a sort of technology before an Xcurrent and just see how it works out and build the framework before they can move on. So as it says here, that cars first came out in the late 1800s. Cars, digital assets in brackets, and X-Rapid sort of being the analogy, were by far faster and more efficient in their time than the immediate predecessor, which is horse-pulled carriages, which is Swift. However, which is the current system that banks use and stuff like that for cross-border payments. However, that for the people to truly start adopting cars in the masses, a system had to be laid down first. The highway network of the 1950s, which is Xcurrent. At some point, banks will be foolish to keep their horse-drawn carriages, while other banks are beating them with much faster cars. At the same time, banks wouldn't start adopting until a solid network being Xcurrent is in place, so they can build the sort of reputation and trust I said before. Just like many were likely skeptical to go drive first cars out on the old dirt roads, banks are now skeptical to go out and use digital assets in the framework of the old system. With Xcurrent, Ripple is right now laying down the framework, the highway, for banks to start using digital currencies. A point will come where banks will basically adopt XRP, which is the cars in this analogy, for the same reason it will be foolish to go out on a horse-drawn carriage on a highway. Ripple's huge advantage over other digital assets, is that they are making the highway system so they have control over which car, being the digital asset, banks must choose, which is XRP, which basically goes through everything I explained, everything I've talked about in my prior videos about why the framework will be built first, and it'll be Ripple technology, it'll already be set up, and they'll have full manipulation on what banks use and things like that, and it's starting now. And once they do start using these cars or XRP in this analogy, XRP or cars in this analogy, they'll have full choice, or digital assets as a whole with other cryptocurrencies, they'll have full control over what one gets used, and XRP will be the one that they'll choose because they've already built the framework, built the trust and everything incorporated with that. As you can see here, the Reddit post basically has a very, very bold statement that it's not a matter of when, if XRP is used, it's a matter of when. So thank you to this person for using this Reddit, giving me inspiration from this Reddit post. I'll leave it in the description below if you want to check it out for yourself. But if we come over to the next piece of news that kind of supports the idea of Ripple starting to make these movements, the first one is that there's a growing relationship between Santander and Ripple. As I said before, Santander Group and Ripple have started creating an app, and now as you can see, the sort of relationship is starting to grow into something beautiful. Ripple has been on a streak of forming alliances with major banks across the world, and its latest association none other than banking giant Santander Group. Massive in Europe, Spain, England, things like that. In a recent announcement made by the companies, it explained the joint venture would come in the form of a payment processing mobile app that will focus on instant money transfers using blockchain technology. So I'll be using the blockchain and its associated distributed ledger technology will be made available in a form to its individual customers in such a capacity, and it will use X current, so that's all clear. And it goes through basically the app and things like that, and how Ripple's on the move with a slew of affiliations that Ripple has added to its portfolio. The company has announced association with the National Bank of Abu Dhabi, and basically just making more and more movements with their first bank in Middle East to use technology for its customers, and they're just making more and more sort of moves, building a relationship with Santander. They're actually going to get the app released very, very soon, hopefully. I'm going to start to put it into consumer use. Probably will try it first, obviously, like I said before, with a lot of other cryptocurrencies, and the current trials they're having at the moment. They need to see how it works first, and then they'll incorporate it into consumer use, and it'll be a massive move in the right direction in terms of trust and building a reputation. And then the quicker this happens, the quicker XRP will be implemented. And as that Reddit post, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and that's very bold to say, but I honestly think he might be right. The next thing I want to talk about is how also Ripple is now going to be added to Crypto Emporium as their 4th ever cryptocurrency, listed alongside Bitcoin, Litecoin and Ethereum. Big things coming for 2018, stay tuned. Very, very excited, won over Verge with 49% of the vote, 8% for Neo and 4% for others. Very, very exciting news. More and more adoption, more and more exchanges are coming to Ripple, and it's very exciting as they're just going to keep growing in size. Last piece of information for the day of Ripple came out a day ago, slightly old news, and it's about Brad Gardenhouse, and basically, as he said, at the Yahoo AMS, they are working with another central bank, which they have yet to disclose. Woo, here's a link if you want to watch the live stream. I'll leave it in the description below, as I mentioned before. And the comments basically go through what it confirms. And this person says, I can confirm this is roughly what he said. The Bank of England is a customer of Ripple, as well as another central bank that is unannounced. Very, very exciting. Everyone seems to be agreeing with this statement. Second that, as you can see. So this is something to look forward to, and that is why overall I do think Ripple and XRP could be the best long-term hold and the biggest cryptocurrency in the future. We're talking about a few years from now.